Executive Eswatini Dlamini.
So move. He was.
Right, welcome back. The central bank, once again, has released its latest monthly statistical report for July-August this year, revealing rather notable shifts in private sector credit. Credit extended to the private sector declined slightly by 0.6%, that is month on month, and yet it registered a year-on-year increase of 8.1%, closing at 21.5 billion emalangeni, that is as of July 2025. Business credit dropped by 0.6% compared to the previous month, but grew significantly by 14.3% over the year, reaching 11.6 billion emalangeni. Let's understand what all of these figures as well as their implications are for the business sector. Business Eswatini Chief Executive Eswatini Dlamini joins us now via our video link, our Zoom video link. Thank you for your time, Mr. Dlamini. Always appreciate talking to you on such developments. This is an interesting one. Perhaps let's start with the big picture. Month-on-month declines often grab headlines, but the year-on-year growth seems to tell a more encouraging story. How do you, as Business Eswatini, reconcile these two readings?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me on. Much appreciated. It's good to see you again. Firstly, month-on-month figures can be quite volatile. They can change quite frequently. But as you say, you're looking at the past few months as a linear period, and you see a very, very nice and healthy growth that's taking place. So that's good. Some of the monthly figures can really be quite, the volatility can go up and down. So you shouldn't worry about them at all. We're not worried about them, but all we're looking is that there's a very good, healthy credit station going on right here.
Let's look at the business sentiment, because we are seeing a 14% rise in business credit year on year, which suggests companies were far more active in seeking finance. Do you read this as a sign of greater confidence in the economy, or are firms simply borrowing to survive in a tougher climate?
No, in fact, you are really spot on. We will love it when we see this happening. Every time we see credit extension rise and credit extension to the private sector in particular rising, we say, oh, I think we're good here. Firstly, because they got the credit because they qualify. Secondly, because they got the credit because they have what you call bankable projects. Those are the projects that we want. And we have seen a very nice increase in credit extension, particularly in the past 1.5 years. And it tells us, and it's correct, that the economy is rebounding very nicely. Projects are being financed by banks, and they qualify for that kind of finance packages. And it means, it can mean even a lot of things. That means people are getting hired out there. So it's not a bad thing every time you see credit extension going up, especially to the private sector. But you may want to worry when you see it going to the sort of consumer sector. And but that's probably a subject for another day.
Yeah, 100%. Shifts now between big corporates and SMEs. Large enterprises pulled back on borrowing while SMEs gained ground. Is this a signal maybe of SMEs becoming a more important engine of growth, or is it more perhaps a reflection of risk aversion on the part of lenders toward larger firms?
Okay, it's almost customary that you would find most of the credit extension going to the private sector, going to larger businesses, in large part because they have a much stronger track record, that they have a stronger financials, etc. And it then trickles down as you go to the smaller businesses. There's no argument, and we've always stated this publicly. In fact, in every economy around the world, small to medium-sized businesses are the engine for economic growth because there's just so many and well diversified, some of them in our communities, and we can only ignore them to our own peril, really. But we cannot also deny the challenges that come with smaller projects. The risk areas that are there when in terms of financing, and some of the things that the PE were closely looking at in terms of how we assist our small businesses, of which we have a plethora of them right here and our roof here at BE, so many of them. But yes, most of it will go to sort of bigger exporting companies, the private the credit extension that we're all talking about.
The real economy test, beyond the balance sheets, do we have evidence that this credit expansion is translating into tangible outcomes? New job investments, job creation, very important, and sectoral growth? Or is it still largely propping up working capital and short-term liquidity? How do you chime into that?
I'm glad that you asked that. And I like the way you actually framed it. And you are spot on because you can see sometimes this huge credit extension and you say, but show me the beef here. And I say, I've got nothing to show. One, I will tell you, the GDP forecasts for this country, 25 to 2026, you know they're just extremely ambitious. You ask government, especially the Minister of Finance, they will be quoting, say, hey, we're expecting 7.9 to 8.3% GDP growth. I mean, these are massive, massive figures. People say, no, you are crazy. That's just too much. You cannot. In fact, the World Bank has come back to say, look, they are probably achievable, they are attainable, but we think at 5.5%, you can hit 5.5%. Guess what? If we were to hit 5.5%, we'll probably be the second largest economy within SADC. That's how good a 5.5% GDP growth is. But the question is, as you are asking rightly, tell me, how can we see the benefits of that GDP growth? For instance, does it create the right employment opportunities, if you ask? And let me hold on that one. I will answer you later. All I know is it expands the private sector in ways that it is beneficial. You can even hold me to this. Previous years, we have grown the economy without creating the commensurate number of jobs that are expected. Because if we have a 36% unemployment rate in this country, generally speaking, and we have 58% unemployment, youth unemployment, you need to grow the economy at the very least by over 10% a year. It's almost nearly impossible. All I know is all the GDP growth that we're achieving, they are helping alleviate the unemployment situation. To what extent? Maybe not to the extent that we all wish for. But generally, you'll be seeing this year, and you've already seen the construction projects that are going up everywhere, the expansions in Matsapa that are happening. It's literally visible, and the cranes that are going up everywhere. All of that is feeding to our GDP. If nothing changes, all things being equal, it will likely to have a very good year, 25, 26, if nothing changes, everything remains equal.
I've got my answer. The credit expansion is indeed translating into tangible outcomes, perhaps not as a single individual may, hope for in his most optimistic sense. But let's also look at the reserves and the stability, because the reserves, as articulated by this report, they fell by just over 1% month to month, but they're significantly stronger when compared to last year. Now, from a business perspective, how important is this buffer, and what signals does it send about macroeconomic stability as well as investor confidence?
Yeah, it's very, very important. Reserves are very, very, very important, especially if you are a net importing country. Now, there is a gold standard around the world that you must always keep at the very least 3 months of foreign reserve. That's the barest minimum that is expected of any country. What does it mean? I can tell you, viewers who happen not imagine a situation where you're saying nothing of foreign currency comes into this country, which means you have got nothing, but you still need to buy your fuel, which is denominated in US dollars. You still need to import your fertilizer from Ukraine, US dollars. You still need to buy machinery, US dollars. How long can the country survive? Those are reserves. He says from a foreign exchange point of view, we can survive for 3 months, which is the barest minimum, which is why every time it falls slightly below 3 months, we say, what is happening? Who is spending the money? Where is it going? And I'm about to tell you, there have been some months we've been worried in the past few months, where it's actually fallen sometimes to 2 months. Do you know where the money goes? It's not like people are taking their foreign currency out of the country. If you look into that, and then you go look at the figures for import and export, you always find that there was what you call an import deficit. I think I'm mixing it up. When you end up importing more than you are exporting, if you import more, what are you using to pay for those imports? Is foreign currency. Foreign currency. And we've seen it going down at the time we have a current account deficit. But in many, many months, we've been enjoying what you call a current account surplus, which means we've been exporting more than we've been importing. And now it's sort of rebounded again to 2.9 months, almost 3 months, and we hope it goes even further above that. But it means us exporting more so that we get more foreign exchange into the country to create that buffer. It's important to businesses, especially the ones who import and export, the ones who have to buy machinery from overseas, because they need to use US dollars. And where do they get their US dollars? From the reserves. So, but for now, I think we're good. We're good. Generally, we're good.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time. You were right. I suppose it is called the export deficit, what you are referring to. But we really appreciate your insights. Those were really illuminating insights that you have shared with us. That was Business Eswatini's Chief